When I worry about ways the world could effectively end, my list goes something like dinosaur-killing meteor strike, sentient AI warmongers, a horrific accident at the particle accelerator, bees, a supervolcano under Yellowstone National Park decides it's had enough, tardigrades organize, revolt. We find out quicksand really is a big problem. Jorts become the national uniform. Zombie-making fungal infections doesn't even rank. But based on HBO's The Last of Us, a dystopian story based on a popular video game, I'm wondering if maybe it should. Don't worry, you don't need to watch the show to understand this video, and it's largely spoiler-free. The very first moments of the show transport us back to 1968, where intense-looking scientists with eyebrows for days are giving us a healthy dose of foreshadowing. The tweed, the whiskey, they're obviously intellectuals. One warns that cordyceps, a mind-controlling fungus that makes zombie ants, will one day mutate enough to make zombie people.
And there's nothing we can do to stop it.
Obviously, here in the 2020s, this isn't a thing. But could it be? Well, let's tally the score, and see if Dr. Downer has some words, or is just full of shiitake. In real life, cordyceps, which is actually called Ophiocordyceps unilateralis, but that's a lot longer and harder to say, along with a number of other species of fungi, are parasites that infect insects. Cordyceps infects ants, and only ants, but other fungi each infect a specific insect, like cicadas or wasps. You think jock itch is bad? You should see what fungal infections do to cicada buds. Ooh. Cordyceps infects ants through its cuticle, the exoskeleton, kind of like your skin. Then it kind of hangs out in the ant for a while before invading its muscles. Professor Doomsday claims that during this time, the fungus keeps the ants' bodies from decomposing. As if leading you to a deeply disturbing plot twist, he lets you come to the realization that
penicillin comes from mold.
Wait, what? I mean, yeah, that's true about penicillin, but the ants aren't dead yet, so there's no need to prevent them from decomposing so they can weekend at Bernie's their reanimated corpses or something. And I'm not even sure what penicillin has to do with anything at this point. So anyways, at some point after the mussel invasion, the ant wanders away from its colony, gets to higher ground where fungal spores can spread more easily, and bites down on a leaf. Then the fungus sprouts out of the ant's head like a sort of demented Teletubby, and spreads its spores, which will eventually infect more ants. In the show, cordyceps not only zombifies you, but it also seems to make you pretty hangry. And let's face it, who's better to have for a midnight snack than 1 or 100 of your friends? Am I right? It feels like they're trying to make human cordyceps similar to rabies, which kind of makes sense if you're looking for something that actually infects humans, and will it turn you into the closest thing to a zombie before killing you? Say less, it's rabies. But the mechanics are actually quite different. For one thing, rabies is a virus, not a fungus, despite Moldylocks' claims that viruses don't infect your brain.
Viruses can make us ill, but fungi can alter our very minds.
For another, TV show cordyceps infects your brain mere hours after a bite. Rabies travels quite slowly from the site of exposure to your brain and often isn't transmissible until weeks to months after you're infected. Not only that, but real-life cordyceps doesn't burrow into ant brains at all, like the opening interview suggests, though it may release some brain-altering chemicals. So in that sense, show cordyceps doesn't really work like real-life rabies or real-life cordyceps. And it's not really like any existing human fungal infection either. Don't get me wrong, scary fungal infections exist. Mucormycosis can cause black pus to drain from your eyes. Aspergillus? Fungus balls. In your lungs. But they don't start sprouting out of your chest like the world's most ill-conceived chia pet.
Chia.
And you don't get the scary versions of fungal infections from eating the wrong side of a mushroom, not slicing the funky-looking green stuff off your cheese, or even getting gnawed on by your neighbor. Most contagious fungal infections, the ones you can get from other people, are common and usually treatable. Think athlete's foot or jock itch. The The scary ones are the ones resistant to antifungals, and the ones you breathe in from the environment around you, like from dirt, dust, or piles of leaves. And sometimes they can spread to your brain. But despite Captain Ominous's decreasingly credible claims about what fungi can and can't do to your brain,
Cordyceps, aspergillus, any one of them could become capable of burrowing into our brains.
even that won't make you want to om-nom your neighbor. Lucky for the TV show characters, human cordyceps doesn't appear to spread via airborne spores. I've heard that in the video game that it does, but I guess if you hire the likes of Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey, you don't want to hide their faces behind a ventilator the whole show. And what about Admiral Bummer's other foreshadowing? Like comparing cordyceps infections in humans to things like LSD and psilocybin. These do cause some well-known brain-altering effects, but this kind of psychedelic food poisoning is a chemical reaction that happens when you ingest the fungi, not a fungal infection. One triggers your immune system, and one triggers... whatever this is. But the show seems to follow up on Dr. Deathcap's prediction, suggesting that widespread cordyceps infections in humans happen through contaminated flour or sugar. Eating contaminated food is a good way to get a bacterial or parasitic infection, but generally not a common way to get a fungal infection. The worst that usually happens if you eat a slice of moldy bread is that you might feel squeaky about it. In fact, in real life, people eat cordyceps as an herbal supplement. We're left with these final words.
And
There's
there are
no
treatments
treatment.
for this. No,
No
preventatives. No cures.
Whoa. Game over, right? Except, scientifically speaking, duh? You can't make a treatment or a cure for a non-existent pathogen. Even if we developed an antifungal for ants now, it wouldn't be effective on some future mutant zombie-making mushroom. Look, I'll give Don Sporeleone a couple of things. It is true that we have few antifungal treatments for fungal infections you can get now. And there's reason to be concerned that climate change could allow for new human pathogens to develop. On the other hand, there's evidence that cordyceps has been infecting ants, and again, only ants and only a specific species of ants, for 48 million years and has never evolved to infect anything else. So A, it must be just fine with where it's at in life, and B, evolution from arthropods to mammals in only 60 or so years would take Ninja Turtle level mutations. So, should I bump up zombie-making fungi's priority, and my anxiety, on my doomsday list? If it were like airborne rabies that sunk in through your skin and infected your nervous system in a matter of hours, and it already infected mammals, yes, I would definitely worry if that were the case. But, based on this scoreboard, I'm honestly more worried about my butt falling off. Thank you for joining me today. For more on strange and scary fungi, non-zombie making brain alterations, or anything else to feed your brains, check out the links below.